We're the Ellises, Jeremy and Tanya, and this is our God story. Our story starts the beginning of August 2012. I found out I was pregnant with our firstborn, and I was really excited and really scared. I came to Jeremy and I told him, and he was really excited too, nervous, first time being a parent. And we ended up telling friends and family, so everything was normal. 15 weeks into my pregnancy, something was different and I didn't know what it was. I asked Jeremy to take me to the emergency room. We went in that night and found out that my body was going to miscarry. And fear set in. We were gonna lose this. The doctor offered two options. We can have surgery, or we can just hope that the baby doesn't miscarry. I did the surgery, and again, there was so much fear. I was so scared of losing this baby, but I felt the Lord with me the entire time. I came home, and again, I was at 15 weeks, and I was on bed rest. And I had a lot of help from the church. A lot of people pulled in and brought us dinners and came to visit us and really tried to encourage, because every day was so trying. All my images of being pregnant and excited and wearing pregnant clothes. By the end of the 23rd week is when my water broke. They had to do a C-section, and I remember Jeremy came in there with me. I knew he was fearful, I could feel it, but I just was hoping that when they did the C-section, she would be fine. And I know that there's a NICU and there's a lot of technology. I was putting my trust a little bit in man, but I could feel the Lord even there with me, comforting, in a time that all I could see was fear and doubt. And even in the doctors and the nurses, a lot of them just were like, yeah, I don't think she's gonna make it.
The thought that kept coming into my head was, all I can do is pray, right? That is as much as I can do in a medical situation, is throw some prayers up there. And my thought process was like a person stuck on an island and putting a bunch of notes in bottles and throwing them out to sea and just hoping that God would grab one of those prayers and that he would move on it. So we go into the hospital, and I remember walking in, and Jordan was laying in her incubator, and I looked at her and she was just laying there, no motion. And it got to a point where I couldn't stand there, and so I said, hey, I'm gonna walk downstairs. And I walked downstairs, and I walked into the chapel, and as I sat down, I felt the Lord say to me, when are you going to stop relying on the doctors to tell you that your daughter's going to be okay? And that really caught me off guard, because I realized up to that point what I was doing was relying on any kind of education or medications or wisdom of doctors that I could hope and pray for that would have some kind of impact on the health of my daughter, and I wasn't putting my sole faith in God. And at that point I said, God, you're right. I turn this over to you. I am out of options. There is nothing that I have left that I can think of to do anything to help this child. And it's crazy to think about it, but at that time, kind of passing that on to him, the burden lessened. So I walked back upstairs, and as I'm walking back into Jordan's room, the nurse approaches me and she says, hey, I'm starting to see an improvement in Jordan, and I'm thinking about the fact that we may be able to lessen the ventilator requirement, and we may be able to lower the dosage on the medication. And it was enough to make you want to drop to your knees. So a child who has been born for, at that point, a week and a half, who acquired E. coli that turned into pneumonia, within 5 days, she had completely beaten pneumonia. And that's where my faith changed. That's where it took a step in a direction of, okay, it's no longer a conversation of maybe God will move on this prayer. It was having confidence in the fact that He was there, He was moving. I needed to be bold in what I claimed for my daughter and not rely on my own actions or wants, that I had to put my full faith in God.
So now she is a year and a half, and she is a Spitfire. But everywhere we take her, if it's a doctor or a nurse or anybody who's in the medical field who's familiar with the NICU, they are amazed.
We began to realize that through Jordan, as much as it impacted our faith, that she was beginning to affect others, that God was working through her to affect others.
At the time this was going on, we had friends that were staying with us, and they got to witness all the help, all the love, all the support that the church gave us. And I remember watching them in awe, and they started coming to church because they were so influenced by the love. The Lord really allowed us to be tried separately and together. I got to see Him grow as a man of God. He was there for me every day. It made me love Him even more, because you want your best friend, your partner, to support you and walk with you during these trials. And I know that He relied on the Lord through this all. We got closer and learned to trust each other and communicate and be there through hard times. Through it all, I know that we, as a team, are stronger now.